7 is a number a lot of the gaming community seems to fear. Gaming as a hobby has only gotten more expensive with this current generation of games, and there are only so many hours in the day, so it's understandable that people want to save their hard-earned money for something they know will be worth it. But somewhere along the way, the number 7 came to be seen as unfavorable. Star Wars Outlaws is the latest major release to be swimming in sevens, as some like to call it. And since the gaming industry is a hellscape, we're already seeing reports of Ubisoft shares taking a dip and the company adjusting sales expectations for this fiscal year by a couple of million. This is just the latest in a disheartening industry trend that sees development teams unceremoniously gutted at a moment's notice, or in the case of Concord, yanked out of existence after a mere 2 weeks. So today, let's try and put out some more positive energy, because a 7 out of 10 should never be a death sentence. Being 70% good is an accomplishment. And in a world that's 71% covered in water, we should all be willing to take the plunge. So come on in and let me tell you why, when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, the water's fine. Right out of the gate, I was struck by how alive the world feels in Star Wars Outlaws. Way too many open world games just feel like empty strip malls, but the towns and cantinas are bustling. People are having conversations you can listen in on, some with intel you can follow up on, and some that just put a dash of flavor into the environment. Kay Vess as a character is as charming as she is unlucky, trying and failing to do enough sketchy jobs to get herself out of Canto Bight. The opening section in Canto does an excellent job of setting up the characters and the world we'll be exploring. Without spoiling anything, it also sets up one of the core mechanics of the game, the intricate crossing and double crossing between the warring factions and syndicates here in the Outer Rim. This is something that truly sets Outlaws apart from other Star Wars titles and the games in general. This is not your KOTOR or Mass Effect binary reputation system. In these opening 12 hours, I've been trying to decide how best to juggle 3 different reputations, each with their own perks, and each with unpleasant consequences for getting on their bad side. And I know for a fact there will eventually be a 4th crime syndicate thrown into the mix, so the backstabs and double-triple crosses will only get more complex from here. Easily one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game comes in the form of your little Mirqual friend, Nyx. He is best boy. He attack, he grab knick-knack, and you can give him snack. While he seems simply cute and useful at first, further time in the game will show that Kay and Nyx have a truly sweet bond after having grown up together in the streets of Canto. Sharing a meal with Nyx has been a highlight of my experience so far, and it seems like anyone else who's come to that segment has been saying the same thing. As you probably assumed by the flood of 7s, there are some snacks to be seen and felt along the way. The most obvious and most cited example is the implementation of stealth. That being said, I've gotten much more used to the mechanics across the span of a dozen hours, and now find it much more enjoyable. The game really wants you to make use of Nyx to distract enemies, sabotage panels, or otherwise assist your sneaking. If you rely solely on Kay's movement, I can almost guarantee you're going to have a bad time. Aside from stealth, I've truly only come across a couple of minor bugs. A stealth knockout that didn't trigger properly, enemies stuck in the ground, or Nyx not responding or behaving the way he was supposed to. All of these have been incredibly minor and were either fixed after a respawn or after leaving an area and coming back. My intent truly is not to sit here and go through every criticism I found and give my own take on it, but there is one in particular that I want to discuss. The frequent, broad critique that, quote-unquote, it feels like a Ubisoft game. To me, when I hear people call out a Ubisoft game as a derogatory term, I think of oversized open worlds and copious checklists. But in my most humble opinion, Star Wars Outlaws has one of the best open world setups I've seen in recent years. At the time of this writing, I've still only explored Toshara, but the map has just the right amount of stuff on it. It's not a completely empty borefest, and it's also not a map that has a glowing icon every 5 feet. Treasure opportunities, towns, and faction outposts feel reasonably and realistically spread out. This may change once I venture to the other planets, but as far as that specific critique of Ubisoft game structure, Outlaws feels much more like a breath of fresh air than a stagnant rehash. One person's 7 is another person's 10. Something I've really been working on over the past year or two is trusting my own instincts on which games may or may not be for me. In fact, the game I spoke about in my most recent essay, Scars Above, got a mere 66 on OpenCritic. But to me, what the game did right more than made up for the hiccups along the way, and the same is holding true for Star Wars Outlaws. So let this be a friendly reminder to trust your own instincts when it comes to the games you think you'll enjoy. Because as always, you should play what you love and love what you play.